Hey everyone, it's Mafalda and these are my March favorites. So March was overall a really good month for me. It was honestly, I feel like it was a very a self-care dedicated month for me because I didn't have a lot of uni work, which was odd, honestly. And yeah, I just took that to my advantage and I worked on myself and I read a lot and I watched a lot of movies, and it was just what I needed after February, which was a very busy and chaotic month for me. So first of all, I don't have any new music favorites. That's the only part of my life that I'm kind of lacking. I haven't been listening to music and I haven't seen what's coming out because obviously things are coming out still, but I just haven't been paying attention to music a lot. So once again, I don't have any music favorites. I only have movies and books, and another favorite that isn't books or movies or music. So I'm gonna talk about it now. I actually thought about making a whole separate video about this topic, but I don't know if I'm ready for it. But basically, I've always struggled with my body image and my weight and just the way I looked and my body and everything, and I know that a lot of people relate to this, but February was such a shitty month for me that I just put on a lot of weight that I just wasn't used to seeing on my scale and on myself, and so I started March feeling like absolute crap. Because of that. I just wasn't feeling great about myself and how I looked. So I took it upon myself to go on a fitness journey. It's not really a fitness journey, but I just decided to be more active and eat better. That's what I did for all of March. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I did the Chloe Ting 2-week shred challenge, which was what kickstarted my activeness, I guess, because I did the 2-week challenge up until the middle of March, and I obviously saw results and it was really great, and I was feeling obviously very motivated and just good about myself and how much I had progressed in only 2 weeks. And obviously I could have stopped there, but I just think I'm going to continue to do these types of exercises every day until I don't know, until I feel the best about myself and about my body. And at this point, it's not only about how I look, but also how strong I'm feeling and how I'm able to do exercises now that I wasn't able to do a month ago. That just feels so good and gratifying. So I've been exercising at least 6 days a week, every single week since the beginning of March, and it feels really good, honestly. Like I said, I could do a whole video about this topic because this is just a big part of my life and my existence up until now, body image and fitness and everything. And since I ended the 2-week shred by Chloe Ting, I've been doing Pamela Reeves' weekly exercise plans. Every week she posts a different schedule for the week with the exercises and videos that you need to do. So I've been basically following that for the past 3 weeks, I think, and I've been really enjoying it. So also I have a playlist on my channel with my favorite video exercises by Chloe and Pamela, which are the 2 that I've tried so far. So if you want to check it out, it's in my channel. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that, and that is definitely a favorite. I will continue to exercise every day. I'm still trying to lose some weight, so yeah. So now for movie favorites, I have 4 movies to talk about, and 2 of them were rewatches, but honestly, I didn't remember anything of them, so basically I was watching them for the first time. And the first movie that I want to talk about is Whiplash, and I had already seen this movie, but I saw it when it came out, so it's been what, 7 years? So I didn't remember anything from it. And the movie is basically about a young drummer that wants to be the best and wants to achieve perfection, especially to impress one of his instructors who is very, 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 very strict. And this movie is amazing. It's beautiful. I love Damien Chazelle's movies. They are just so beautifully and aesthetically pleasing. But yeah, it was a great movie. It had me at the edge of my seat, and it reminded me that I need to rewatch La La Land because, unpopular opinion, I didn't really like La La Land when I first saw it because everyone was creating this big hype around the movie, and then when I watched it I was just meh. But I think I need to rewatch it. I think Whiplash is my favorite by Damien Chazelle, but I still need to rewatch La La Land. Maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. The next movie that I watched was I, Daniel Blake, And oh my god, this movie is so underrated. I feel like I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, and it's so good. And it's about an old man who is a carpenter and he injures himself at work, and so he has to request state welfare from the state. This movie is set in the UK and it's following him and a single mother who is in the same position and requires also state welfare. And it is so heartbreaking. I cried multiple times. It is so good. And it's really about how shitty governments are in helping people who actually need it and are in poverty. And it's so sad but so beautiful at the same time, and I just highly recommend it because I don't see a lot of people talk about this movie, so yeah. Then the next movie that I watched was Dark Waters, and this movie came out a few years ago. I had been recommended this movie a couple of times and I finally watched it, and it was so great. And the movie is about an attorney played by Mark Ruffalo, and it's basically about him uncovering a secret that connects a very big, one of the biggest corporations in the world, to a lot of unexplained debts. And this movie is based on a true story that actually happened, and this attorney basically risked everything, and he really put his whole mind and soul and everything in like 15 years of his life defending this case and trying to expose the truth about this very big corporation. And this movie is kind of scary because it deals with a true story, and it honestly makes you think of all the things that you have in your life that could be causing damage to your health, because that's one of the biggest issues in this movie, is a big corporation that was doing things because it benefited them, but obviously it wasn't good for a lot of people and it killed a lot of people in the process, and those things were in our everyday lives, so it really makes you think. And I don't want to spoil the movie, so please go watch it. It's really great and it really makes you think a lot. And the last movie that I rewatched this month was Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I can't believe it took me this long to watch this movie again, because I also saw this movie when it came out, which was 11 years ago, I think. So it has been a long time. I didn't remember anything from the movie, like literally anything. And it's really fun to see how they adapted some things from the graphic novel that are very like based on the graphic novel genre, and they adapted it into the movie, and it was so brilliant. This movie is amazing, honestly, and I'm so glad that I finally rewatched this movie because I had been meaning to for a really long time. And if you haven't seen this movie, it's on Netflix, so please go watch it. It's so great. And now we reach the fun part, which is to talk about books, because in March I think I had my best reading month yet in all of my history as a person, and I think I read 18 books in March, which I don't know how that happened, but I was just in a really big reading mood and I had a lot of time, and yeah, that was just basically it. So I'm obviously not gonna talk about all of the 18 books that I read because that would just be painful for me and for you, and I'm not gonna do that. So first of all, these two books, Disfigured, which I gave 4.5 stars, and Tell Me How You Really Feel, which I gave 3.5 stars. We talked about these two books in our live show last month, obviously, and it's on Casey's channel, and yeah, we talked about both of these books because this was the 20-something book club pick and this was the nonfiction baddies book club pick. So if you haven't checked it out, the live show is on Casey's channel if you want to hear our thoughts about these books. Then I also filmed a 24-hour reading vlog, which is already on my channel if you haven't checked it out. And in that vlog I read Tell Me How You Really Feel and I read Legendborn, and I have all of my thoughts on Legendborn in that video. I basically gave that book 4 stars or 3.5, not sure anymore. But if you want to hear my thoughts on Legendborn, please go check out that video. Then also later in the month I did a vlog on my channel where I read like Miley Cyrus for a week, and in that video I read 3 books. So if you want to hear my thoughts on those books, please go check out that vlog on my channel. So now let's move on to the books that I didn't get to talk about in any of my videos, and I think I have 7 books to talk about, so it's still a lot, so let's just get on with it. So the first book that I read as an audiobook and that I really enjoyed this month was If Cats Disappears from the World by Genki Kawamura. This book follows a man who has just discovered that he has a rare type of cancer and that he's gonna die in a few days. And that man then is visited by the devil, who makes him an offer. And the offer is if he makes anything disappear from the world, he will have 1 more day to live. his life, but without that thing in the world. And so the story follows this man every day making something disappear from the world so he can have one more day to reconcile with someone or do something else before he dies. And it's a story about loss, and it's a story about love, and it's a lot about putting things into perspective and seeing what really matters to you and what is valuable in life. And I just thought it was such an interesting book. I love the characters. The audiobook was also great, and I highly recommend this book, honestly, if you want to cry and also if you love cats, because that is one crucial part of the story, and it was just heartbreaking and beautiful. And yeah, I highly recommend it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I want to talk about is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. I finally read it. I absolutely loved this book. I read it so fast. Honestly, it kind of felt like a fever dream because I read it like in 2 or 3 days, this big chunk of a book. And oh my god, it was everything I wanted and more. And this book follows Addie LaRue, who is a girl in France in the 1700s. And one day she makes a deal with the devil, I guess. And that deal makes her be immortal, but at the same time, no one really remembers her. So she just travels through life alone and with no one really, because everyone forgets about her when they turn their back. And it follows Addie LaRue's whole life since the 1700s and a lot of her experiences. And then in the present day, Addie LaRue is in New York and she meets a guy named Henry. And Henry, for the first time ever in her life, remembers her, and that leads him on a discovery and a journey to find out why. Wow, this book just... oh my god, I just can't put it into words. I just loved it so much. And honestly, a few days ago, I saw someone compare this book to The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I loved that book as well, and it just gave me the same feeling. So yeah, if you like The Starless Sea, please pick this book up because it gives you the same vibe. I don't know why. The stories are so different, but I don't know. Yeah, it was beautiful and heartbreaking, and I didn't cry at the end, but I almost did, and I gave it 5 stars, and I just adored this book. And honestly, I was not disappointed by the ending, because I know that a lot of people get disappointed by the ending, but I just loved it. So yeah, I have nothing else to say. It's a 5 star. Now, the next book that I read this month was Kim Ji-young, Born 1982 by Shunam Ju. And I listened to this one on audiobook and I liked it so much, and I just thought it was so important for me to have it in my life that I just ordered it after I finished it. And now I have a physical copy and I love it so much. And this book is about basically the character Kim Ji-young, born 1982 in South Korea. And it's basically following her life, but her life as a woman. It's basically an exploration of how women are treated in the world. It's a very feminist book. If you are a feminist, please read this one because it's really, really good. And I'm just gonna read you the back because it has some quotes and I think it encapsulates the book so well. Kim Ji-young is a girl born to a mother whose in-laws wanted a boy. Kim Ji-young is a sister made to share a room while her brother gets one of his own. Kim Ji-young is a daughter whose father blames her when she is arrested late at night. Kim Ji-young is a model employee who gets overlooked for promotion. Kim Ji-young is a wife who gives up her career and independence for a life of domesticity. Kim Ji-young has started acting strangely. Kim Ji-young is depressed. Kim Ji-young is mad. Kim Ji-young is her own woman. Kim Ji-young is every woman. I love this book. It's super short. The audiobook I think is like 3 or 4 hours and the book is like 160 pages long. And I just think it's super important. And if you like character-driven stories, you're definitely going to like this one. I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I really hope you can hear the construction noises outside. They always make noise when I start filming. It's just so annoying, and I honestly have no more time to film other than this time. So I'm gonna continue filming. I don't want you to hear the noise, but if you hear it, please ignore it. So I'm just gonna continue. So the next book that I read in the month of March was Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls by Elena Favilli and Francesca Cavallo. And this book is basically a collection of a lot of women in history and about their lives, and this is the Portuguese version. And this is obviously for young girls to read and to know more about Marie Curie or about, I don't know, there's so many women here. or by Malala. And this is the first volume. I think they have a couple other volumes out after this one, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I took it half a star because there's not enough queer representation here, and even the women that are known to be queer, like for example Virginia Woolf or Frida Kahlo, their queerness isn't mentioned in this. And I know it only has like a page to talk about each person, but still I felt like it was kind of overlooked, and I know that it's very important for young girls to read about other queer girls. So yeah, I just thought that was missing. But other than that, I really liked it, and I learned so much with this book that is for young girls, but still I learned so much about so many people. And I honestly really want to pick up the second volume of this because I know there's a second volume. I don't know if there's one about men as well, but I don't really want that. So I'm definitely gonna pick up the second volume in Portuguese as well. And yeah, silence is upon us. I don't know for how long, so I'm just gonna keep going. So the next book that I read in the month of March was Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Silence was taken from us once again, my people. So I read Renegades. I think this is the one book that I had on my TBR for the longest time. It was the oldest book on my TBR, and I finally read it and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I just love Marissa Meyer's writing. I just don't know what it is, but it's so easy to follow, and I just flew through this book, and this is a pretty hefty book. And this book is about superheroes, and it's about this group of superheroes called the Renegades, who are like the protectors of the city. But it's also about Nova, who is a part of like the anti-renegades, I guess, because she's seeking revenge because the renegades killed her family. And this book was super fun. I love the characters, I love the twists, and I'm just really excited to continue with the series because I just think it's gonna pick up even more in the next book. So I'm really happy that I finally picked this one up. The next book that I read in the month of March was I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai, and this is a memoir, I guess, of Malala's life in Pakistan, and then when she was shot and the aftermath of that. And one thing that I'm really disappointed, honestly, in myself because of this is that I put this book in my wish list on Amazon, and Casey got this one for me. And I put this one in my wish list because I just love this cover. I think it's so pretty, and they had another cover for this book, but I didn't really like it, so I put this one on my wish list. And then as I was reading this one, it says here that this is the teen edition. So this is the edition of the book written or adapted for teenagers and for young people. And so that kind of disappointed me, but I have only myself to blame for this, honestly, because I just didn't see correctly what this book was. And I was just like drawn to the cover, so I was just like, I want this one. I kind of wish I had read the adult version and the original version of the book. But from what I saw on Goodreads, people were saying that this one wasn't like toned down for kids. It was just like a lot of the background information and like the political and historical information of Pakistan in this time and everything was like taken out of the book. So there's less context to the political things happening in her story, basically. But people were still saying that this wasn't like a PG-13 version of the book because it still was very graphic, and like it was still, I think it was still a pretty great book. I give this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was great. I just wish I had read the original version. And what I took from the story is that Malala is a powerhouse, and she's so inspiring and so amazing. And I can't believe she's only 1 year older than me, and she's done so much, and just her fight for education and women's rights is unbelievable. And I am just so like baffled by her. And after I read this book, I obviously stalked her on social media, and to see that she's such an inspiring and empowering woman, but at the same time she makes like funny jokes on Instagram is so like weird but also amazing, and I just love her now. And I'm so glad that I read this because the only things that I knew about Malala was that she was shot in the face and that she was fighting for education in Pakistan. That's all I knew, but I learned so much about her story and just how amazing and brave she is. She was fighting for girls' right to education since she was like 10. She has done some really amazing and inspiring work, and I'm so glad that she is still here with us and is able to be a role model for the generations to come. And the last book that I read in March was Once Upon a Need, Stories of Hope and Joy by 15 Muslim Voices by S.K. Ali. And this is a collection of short stories edited by S.K. Ali, and it's stories about Eid and about being Muslim, and there are so many great stories in this. I learned so much, and I just absolutely adored this book. I really want a physical copy for myself because I just loved it so much. And I read this one on audiobook, and the audiobook was great. It had a bunch of narrators, and I just think this is such a cute and fun experience, I guess. I think it was my first anthology ever that I've ever read, so it was really fun, and I want to read more anthologies in the future. Yeah, this was really fun. I give it 5 stars because it's just so pure and cute and everything, and I cried with a bunch of stories, and yeah, it was just really great. So I highly recommend this one, especially because I don't see a lot of people reading this, and the audiobook I think is 5 hours, so it's really short. And yeah, I highly recommend it. This is obviously a middle grade, but I think anyone can read it, and I learned so much about Muslim culture. And that concludes all of my favorite books from the month of March. March was a great month, not only in terms of the amount of books that I read, but also like I gave a lot of books really high ratings, so it was really great overall. And I'm hoping that April will also emanate that energy of how like good ratings and a lot of books read, because I have a really big TBR, and I just really want this reading mood to continue for the next few months because it just feels great. And also I have a lot of books on my TBR, so it's good that I'm reading fast and that I'm reading a lot because I just have so many books to read. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video, even though there's a lot of noise around me. I swear every time I film there's noise, like construction noises or just anything really, like every single time I film. And then when I'm not filming, it's just like quiet. I still really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't, and I will see you on my next one. Bye!